Hello everyone, my name is Jeff Worthley and I'm a candidate for City Council. I served in the council 22 years ago for 2 terms. Since then, I've been raising my 2 children, both of whom attend Gloucester schools. For the past 14 years, I've run my own financial service practice, and for 2 years ago, I decided to turn to public life. I was very grateful that voters chose me to serve as one of your 4 at-large city councilors, and be very grateful for the opportunity to serve again. I'm 46 years old. I've lived my entire life in our amazing city, as have my parents, my grandparents, and my great-grandparents. Between the Worthley side and the Mondello side of my family, I have deep roots and a long, steady commitment to public service. In my first 4 years in the City Council, I had the honor of serving with and learning from the likes of Al Sweckla, Lee Kennedy, Gus Foote, Joe Sciolino, Jim Destino, Vito Calamo, Dean Harrison, Christine Rasmussen, Ed St. Peter, Astrid F. Klintenberg, and Safathi Romeo, as well as my mentor and friend, the late Ab Gambadi. I've had the privilege of working with thousands of volunteers over the years and have great respect for the contributions of everyone who works to make our city a better place. I especially want to recognize the positive impacts that the late Janice DeLuto, the architect of our 2001 master plan, had on my development. She and the hundreds of volunteers of that effort taught me the importance of listening, and listening in every possible manner. Having served with a real thirst for knowledge to better myself and be more effective, I've gained a strong knowledge of our city charter, zoning code, code of ordinances, municipal finance, and Robert's Rules of Order. I believe that this knowledge base and my willingness to share that with other members of the City Council makes me a better city councilor and helps all of us better represent our constituents. Most importantly, I've demonstrated how much I genuinely care about our community. Of course, none of us can be experts in every subject matter, and that's why it's my belief again that one of the most important character traits of a city council is humility to admit we don't know everything, and that willingness and ability to listen. I've been a champion of increased public input. There are candidates in this race who do not want to hear from residents. I'm open to hearing all sides of an issue. I return every phone call and every email. I don't make up my mind until every resident who wants to be heard has shared their opinion. Once I take in all that input, I have to compare that with the law, weigh it against opposing opinions, and there's one other step many miss. Peter Trigid was mayor of Peabody for 26 years, and I knew him personally. When I first ran for city council, he said, "Jeff, you'll be at city council meetings, there'll be 10 or 15 people speaking very passionately about an issue in favor of something or against it." He said, "For every one of those, there's probably another 1,000 who are home, taking care of children, taking care of elderly parents, afraid to speak in public, working a second or third job. You represent those people too." Lastly, and most importantly, I have to do what I believe is right for our community, even if it's not the popular decision. After taking all the information in, having the courage to trust yourself is critical. I sleep very well at night knowing I follow this well-thought-out, tried-and-true decision-making process. I work well with each of the ward councilors and support them when they need support and guidance, and collaborate with them to help residents throughout their city, from East Gloucester to West Gloucester, Lanesville to Magnolia, Riverdale to Eastern Point, Annisquam to downtown, where I live. Everyone knows that I have been a very active city councilor. There are many big issues facing our community, from affordable housing to preserving open space, our water supply, our schools, and the economy. I hope that there's a robust dialogue about the future of our city, and I look forward to upcoming debates. In the meantime, I'm happy to provide my cell phone, which is 978-836-0423, and my email address, jeffworthley@yahoo.com, for viewers to ask me any questions or offer any advice and input. I ask that you consider giving me one of your 4 votes in the at-large city council race. The election is on November 7th. Thank you for the opportunity to serve, and I hope I can effectively serve you again. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jason Groh, and I'm seeking your vote for re-election to one of 4 at-large seats on the City Council. I currently serve as the chair of the Planning and Development Subcommittee and ex officio on the Human Rights Commission. As a former 2-term Ward 1 City Councilor, I served as chair of the Budget and Finance Committee during one of the most fiscally challenging periods in our history and helped guide the council through it. I bring relevant experience and integrity to the council. I believe deeply in the autonomy of the City Council as a co-equal part of our local government and take seriously its role as representative of you, Gloucester's residents. At the core of our decisions must be an educated understanding of the often complex issues facing us. This requires doing the necessary homework and coming to meetings prepared. For those who don't know me, I'm a professional photographer with over 34 years of experience, the past 27 years running my own small business. I believe in giving back to my community and locally have invested in projects celebrating that community, including Cape Ann World War II veterans, the Family Portrait Project, and have helped many local nonprofits. Sarah and I have been married for 33 years and have 3 amazing daughters, Matilda, Jemima, and Maisie, all graduates of Gloucester schools. I'm a surfer and a beekeeper, and we've lived in Gloucester for 23 years. Today, serious issues face our community: housing affordability, climate change, aging infrastructure, and the ongoing challenge of economic investment. How we decide these challenges will shape Gloucester for our children and our grandchildren. Every decision I make is viewed through that lens. As Chair of Planning and Development, I champion changes to strengthen our inclusionary zoning ordinance, to close loopholes, and hold developers to their obligation to build affordable housing. I supported the Housing Production Plan zoning amendments, which, had they succeeded, would have created new 2- and 3-family infill housing throughout the city so that every neighborhood carried some responsibility for our housing needs. Next year, Gloucester will need to comply with the state law regarding the MBTA Transit Overlay District. Simply saying no is not an option. The council will need leaders who understand the law and who will work to craft a solution to best benefit Gloucester. How we respond may well determine whether our children and seniors can remain here in the community where they were raised. More than most communities, we in Gloucester see the impacts of climate change. We must plan and thoughtfully improve our infrastructure looking 50 to 100 years ahead so we lessen the burden of this global crisis on our children. I have been a leader on this issue. I supported the newly adopted floodplain zoning ordinance to restrict expansion and new construction in flood risk areas. I remain absolutely committed to fully funding our public schools, including paying our staff, and all city staff for that matter, fair and appropriate wages. My long-term record shows I have always supported our schools. We have amazing things happening in our district. Our GHS graduates attend the same universities as surrounding wealthier communities, yet nearly 300 Gloucester students choice in neighboring districts. We need to win those students back. I know, too, that college isn't necessarily the best path for every student, which is why I support the expansion and funding of our vocational programs. While preserving our traditional maritime and fishing industries, essential tourist and arts economies, we can't ignore the need for new, well-paying, full-time jobs. How do we attract economic development? We do it by investment in housing, investing in education, investing in infrastructure to ensure Gloucester has a strong and secure economic future. I've heard suggestions that those of us without strong generational roots in Gloucester lack standing to be part of the decision-making in our community. That's absurd. We're a city made of 400 years of transplants, each successive generation building on the foundations of those before. We are a community of immigrants. The beauty of Gloucester and its strength is its diversity. Whether you trace your roots back 400 years or you moved in last week, you're from Gloucester and this is your home. I respectfully ask for your vote on November 7th. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Chris Sicuranza, and I'm running for Councilor At-Large this fall. Even though we came up short last time around, I'm running again for City Council in 2023 after hearing from citizens across all neighborhoods and wards. I've been putting in the work and door knocking across the summer and fall to get our positive message of fresh leadership out there. Gloucester is ready for a leader who has the experience, passion, and care to help lead our city to our next great chapter together. It's time for Gloucester to elect leaders who are dedicated to public service, not self-service. Too often Gloucester has been in the headlines for the wrong reasons. This is because we've elected people who think that misinformation, mischief, and lawsuits are the appropriate path to advance their agenda. To be clear, the only agenda that I have is helping people and providing good government while listening to all voices across all neighborhoods. You may have seen my signs in literature, so to remind you again, the S in Sicuranza stands for seniors, schools, and streets. I have strong municipal and state experience. I was the first ever Director of Communications and Constituent Services for the City of Gloucester. I also served within the Comptroller's Office as a communications lead within the Innovative Best Program. I was the Assistant Chief Administrative Officer as well as the Interim CAO for Mayor Romeo Taken. Also, I served as the Chief of Staff in more recent times within the City of Haverhill and the City of Salem. I've long been a community organizer and a volunteer. I helped to co-found the award-winning LGBTQ group Go Out Loud. I proudly serve as the Ward 3 Chair of the Gloucester Democratic City Committee, but I've also served on our own boards and committees, including the Gloucester Licensing Board, the Special Events Committee, Discover Gloucester DMO, Committee for the Arts, Gloucester Green, Gloucester 400th Advisory Board, and some others as well. But we have plenty of issues to address. We must take pride in our heritage and our history while making progress on workforce housing, balanced budgeting, and improved infrastructure. We must focus on Gloucester's long-term needs, like supporting clean water via a new secondary sewer treatment plant, accepting new areas from private roads to public roads, and more digital tools to pay bills and stay in touch with important city matters. We must support Gloucester's working waterfront and our fishing community as well, while tackling challenges provided by environmental dangers like coastal flooding. I aim to work directly with the administration to identify and welcome new faces to our volunteer boards, commissions, and committees, while consolidating some groups with overlapping functions. I'm the only candidate running that is not an incumbent, the only candidate of diversity, and the only candidate under the age of 40 running for at-large. I've earned endorsements from local unions and environmental groups like the Sierra Club, but the only audience that I care about are the people of our great city of Gloucester. So, remember, vote Chris for council this November 7th and visit my website, chrissicuranza.com/council for more information or check out any of my social media pages. I thank you all again for your love and support, and God bless you all. Thanks.
Hello, Gloucester residents, and a warm thank you to 1623 Studios. My name is Val Gilman, and I'm running for at-large city councilor. I wasn't born in Gloucester, but I've been a resident for 54 years. I love our city. Why have I decided to transition from my role as Ward 4 councilor to run for at-large? After 8 years of focusing on constituent issues, I'm excited and ready to take on a broader role involving new legislative city opportunities that will address our challenging citywide issues. I feel that my current leadership role as our City Council President, 2-term Chair of Planning and Development, 6 years on the Gloucester School Committee, including 1 term as Chair, have prepared me well to become your successful at-large councilors. I know how to navigate change in our city. The role of an at-large councilor demands accessibility and preparedness, strategic vision for our city's future, and most importantly, good listening skills. Let me elaborate on my successful listening performance in Ward 4 for 8 years. I offered coffee and conversations every Friday morning at the Cove Cafe. I held regular ward meetings throughout my tenure. During COVID, I had socially distanced meetings at Plum Cove Beach and Corliss Landing. I facilitated the first ever Zoom Lanesville Quarry meeting attended by our police chief. Recently, in this current term, as president of the Gloucester City Council, I organized and developed 5 Zoom meetings for all 5 wards to get on board and hear them about zoning matters in our city. And finally, I held a recent budgeting brainstorm session for all of my Ward 4 constituents. During these challenging times, our city needs fiscally responsible councilors who can prioritize capital expenditures while making sure that our city ordinances are up to date. My priorities include protecting our aging infrastructure from sea level rise and climate change, seeking well-planned, affordable workforce housing initiatives so that seniors, veterans, and young families can afford to live in Gloucester, lobbying for adequate Chapter 90 state funding at the state level for municipal road repair and city services, and listening to the needs of taxpayers while engaging in our first comprehensive master plan since 2001. There's little doubt that priorities will keep my eye on the prize, but here are my values. Number 1, discouraging fake news by communicating facts and data. Number 2, providing LGBTQ inclusivity. Number 3, protecting our open space while supporting grants without strings. Number 4, ending domestic violence and elder abuse while supporting mental health services. Next, seeking ordinances and zoning solutions that support local businesses and workers. Staying true to climate needs while aligning solutions with city ordinances, and supporting excellence in our school district, local vocational programs, and our Essex North Shore Agricultural and Technical School, of which I serve as Gloucester's appointed school committee member for our 103 students. I am ready to hit the ground running as one of our city's 4 at-large councilors. I truly love the city. Strong leaders are needed to make the right decisions for our children and our grandchildren's futures. I am 4th on the ballot and happen to be the only woman running for at-large. Please vote for me, Val Gilman, for at-large city councilor on November 7th, 2023.
Hi, my name's Tony Gross, and I'm running for re-election for City Councilor at Large. And I'd like to thank 1623 Studios for this opportunity to speak with you. Now, I'm a lifelong resident of Gloucester, and I know our city very well. Growing up in our house, we were taught the importance of public service. My father, who was general manager of Empire Fish Company, was the chairman of the Dory Race Committees and president of the Chamber of Commerce for a while. My mother was the Board of Health chair for several years, served on the Gloucester School Committee, and was a member of the Civic and Garden Club. Now, we were taught in our house that if you're not part of the solution, you are part of the problem. And I have lived my life by that philosophy, both public and private. Now, I told you that my father was general manager of Empire Fish Company. Now, I spent an awful lot of my youth down at that plant, and then I went to work there when I was 14 and worked there all through high school and beyond. Then I went into commercial fishing. I know Gloucester's waterfront and its issues very, very well. But I also, during that period, during my careers, I went into the building trades and I went into wastewater management. And I mention that because as a city councilor, we need people who know what happens when you are building a building and when we have this major project that's going to be going on at the wastewater plant. Right now, we have the police stations being renovated. We're building a library. And then, like I said, the secondary treatment renovation that's going to happen at that treatment plant is significant. And as a city councilor, I will be able to, by my experience, I will be able to tell you and represent your interests and make sure that we get the most bang for your buck. Now, while I've been serving on the city council this last term, I added great clarity to the Sustainable Buildings Ordinance. Also, the taco truck, when it was threatened over at Plum Cove Beach, I wrote language in the ordinance that protected the taco truck. And it also protected all the other vendor spots for the small businesses that rely on that for their income throughout the year, and that they're the lifeblood of our city, and we need to make sure that they work out well and that we protect them. Also, we've all suffered from traffic disruption from work in our roadways. And I put forward an ordinance this year that would stop any road construction happening between June 1st and September 1 on our major roadways, particularly the ones around our beaches and downtown. And I think that's very important that we get that passed, and hopefully that'll be moved forward rather soon. Now, my style of leadership brings common sense, practicality, and it's solutions-based, and that's what the citizens of Gloucester deserve. And if I'm reelected, I will continue working for our great city. So I would hope that you would vote for me on November 7th. Thank you.
Good evening. I am James W. OHara Jr. I'm a lifelong Gloucester resident, educated in the Gloucester Public Schools, worked on the wharfs, lobstered commercially aboard the fishing vessel Connemara Bay. I earned a bachelor's degree from Wentworth Institute of Technology with a major in building construction engineering. James OHara has been self-employed most of his career, performing projects throughout the United States, Puerto Rico, and Canada. My home has always been Gloucester, born here and will die here. I have been standing up for Gloucester citizens long before being elected 8 years ago to the City Council. Decades ago, James OHara formed a group to stop the construction of 40 condominiums on Shore Road in Magnolia. Today, there are 8 condominiums on the project. I formed Citizens for Public Safety 16 years ago when the administration decided to shutter most of the 4 neighborhood fire stations. During that closure, Citizens for Public Safety met with the mayor on a regular basis. We trained citizens on how to be prepared for a house fire. We trained citizens on how to use fire extinguishers. Citizens for Public Safety was successful in opening the shuttered fire stations only after Lanesville citizen Bridget Cleary died when her home caught fire on a Sunday evening in October. Her neighborhood Bayview fire station was closed. James OHara fought for the police patrolmen to have working cruisers during that same time period. I organized a public safety day at Gloucester High School. On that day, the United States Coast Guard had a helicopter fly to Gloucester High School and lower a rescue swimmer on the lawn of the high school. Massachusetts State Police had an automobile seatbelt simulator. Essex County Sheriffs had a canine. Gloucester Police displayed all the various illegal drugs and equipment. The fire department used the jaws of life to open a demolished vehicle. James OHara maintained the old Magnolia Pier for many years. I stood in front of the city council and President Jackie Hardy and asked the city to supply materials and repairs to the Magnolia Pier. All this before stepping up and running for an at-large city council position. James OHara cares for Gloucester and, more importantly, the citizens within our beautiful city. I've stood up for those who can't stand up for themselves. James OHara believes in democracy. We are a country of freedom. If re-elected, I will continue to stand up for the taxpayers of Gloucester. We need to keep Gloucester affordable for the present citizens of our beautiful city. This is how we will make housing affordable in our city. I ask you for one of your 4 votes on November 7th. No one will work harder for the citizens of Gloucester because James OHara is a city councilor of the people and for the people. Thank you.